This video is to help you learn how to use the statistical abstracts, reading them appropriately, and understanding what they're telling you. So first, how do you get to the statistical abstracts? Go into the Blackboard course, go to external links, which you see right here, and you'll see all of the statistical abstracts that are available to you listed with links. Starting with 2012 and going all the way back to 1995. So we're going to start with 2012, which is the year that I would like you to, if you use the statistical abstracts for your PowerPoint presentation, please use 2012 because it has the most recent data. So you click on that and that takes you to the PDF version of the 2012 statistical abstract, and you'll see that there are a number of tables, 1,406 to be exact, in all kinds of areas. I'm going to pull up health, and to do that you click over here. You can't click there and get anywhere, so clicking here. Now I use Google Chrome, and Google Chrome works a little bit differently than other browsers, and I have it set up so that this will open in my Adobe, and it does take a while to open, and you may, if you're using a different browser, it will take a little bit of time to load because it's a very big file. In any case, once you get to it, there are certain things that you need to be aware of, and it still says 40 seconds, so I'll have to talk for a while. Although I have a copy of it already open, so I'm just going to pull that over here, and we may get another copy. And when you open it, it will normally open on this page, and all of your tables will be listed over here. And you can scroll through, and I want to look at table 142. Or actually, no, I changed that. This one, 143, average annual expenditures per consumer unit for healthcare. So I want to get this a little bit bigger, so I'm going to move it into the middle of the screen, and then I'm going to use the plus sign here to make it larger. So the first thing you always want to do is to carefully read the title. This is annual average expenditures per consumer unit for healthcare. So again, what you're going to be looking at is an average annual expenditure. This is the unit, the consumer unit you're going to be looking for, and it's going to be looking at 2007 to 2009. And all of these numbers here are in dollars except the percent, which is here. So in 2007, the average annual expenditure for consumer was $2,853, and it represented 5.7% of their total expenditures. So 5.7% of everything they spent in 2007 was for health care. In 2009, that was 6.4%, and it went up to $3,126. Now we can look at it with reference to age, with reference to ethnicity, parts of the country. You can see that the Midwest is much higher than the rest of the country. The size of the consumer unit, whether it's one person, two or more, and quintiles of income, so that those who have the least income, of course, spend the higher total percent of their expenditures on health care. But certainly as you have more money, you spend more money on health care. This then looks at the amount spent on health insurance, medical services, and drugs and medical supplies. This final column looks at the distribution, so that of this $2,853 that a consumer unit spent, 54.2% of that went towards health insurance, 24.9% went towards medical services, and 21% went to drugs and medical supplies. So it's very important to carefully read these tables. Also note that many of them have footnotes, and so we can see this one here refers to the footnote here, and that tells us that it includes both prescription and non-prescription drugs. So I'm going to close this one, and we're going to go back and look at a previous version of this statistical abstracts. We're going to go to 2003, so I'll use this one right here. And in 2003, I want to look at table 76. And so this has to do with the population. And this will open in a minute, or more, or less. So here's population, and we want to look at table number 76. And this one is called Persons Living Alone by Sex and Age. So what I'm looking at is these numbers, and you'll note that each of these numbers is in thousands, meaning that the number you're reading has to have 3 zeros added to it in order to be an accurate number. So what we're looking at is the number of people who live alone by sex and by age. So in 1990, there were 22,999,000 people living alone. Of that 22,999,000, 9,049,000 were men, and 13,950,000 were women. And then we can see it further broken down into age groups within. So then when we look over here, this is the percent distribution. So in 2002, there were 28,775,000 people living alone. 42% of that was male, 58% was female. And then 18% of the persons living alone were 45 to 64-year-old females. So again, you can see it can be a little bit tricky figuring out how to read some of these percentages. So just to do another one, this 26% here, that would tell you that 26% of the persons living alone were 45 to 64 years old. Okay, this is not 26% of 45 to 64-year-olds live alone. It's describing the population that lives alone. It's not describing, it's not telling you within a certain group who lives alone, but that of the people living alone, 4% in 1990 were male 75 years old and over. Okay, so I'm going to go to another table. So it's going to take me a minute to pull that up, and this is going to be table 85. And that's vital statistics, and we're going to be looking at births and birth rates by race, sex, and age. So again, the births are in thousands, and when it says in thousands, that means you add 3 zeros to the end. It's not thousandths, but thousands, and births are by race are by the race of the mother. And note that it excludes births to non-residents of the United States, and note that we have lots of footnotes here, so that it's important as you go through this table that you understand what the footnotes are telling you. So first of all, we have live births, and almost all of this top is actual numbers, so that in 1980 there were 562,000 births to mothers under 20 years old. By 2001, that number had come down to 454,000. As we get to the bottom half, we're looking at different measures. So here we're looking at a birth rate, which tells us the number of births per 1,000 people in the population. So in 1998, let's look, there were 17.7 births in the black population per 1,000 people. So there were 17.7 babies born per 1,000 people in the black population in 1998. Now we also have a plural birth ratio. Now it has a footnote, so it's the number of multiple births per 1,000 live births. So that's very different than per 1,000 in the population. So the plural birth ratio in 1996 was 27.4, which means there were 27.4 multiple births for every 1,000 live births. Moving down to the fertility rate, there's another footnote, and it's per 1,000 women. So here we're looking at an entire population. Here we're looking at the 1,000 live births, and here we're looking at 1,000 women when we're looking at a rate. So if you need to, go back to and reread the information about rates. And one last table that I want you to look at, and again we're going to go back and we're going to go look at 1999, because 1999 has some special statistics. These 20th century statistics, which we don't have anywhere else, are here, and you will be using them in one of the assignments. But there's also another table that I want you to be looking at, and it is table number 109. So you'll note that on this one, we don't have table numbers, but what you can do is go to the binoculars, which means find, and this is actually on my other screen, so let me pull it over. It doesn't want to, but you would just type in the box that comes up, number 109, and you can see it takes you to number 109. Now again, this is a real tricky table, and a lot of the homework has you working on tricky tables so that you'll do well on the exam. So this is childless women and children ever born by race, age, and marital status. So here are all races, and this is if you were ever married, a woman who was ever married, and women who were never married. And then this is all races, white women and black women. And then this tells us the total number of women, and again, this is another way to say that this is in thousands. So I need to add 3 zeros, and then all of these are percents, okay? And again, these are number, well, actually, this is a number, and this is a rate. So it's per 1,000 women. So we've got percentages, we have absolute numbers, we have rates. And rates and percentages are relative measures. Absolute numbers are absolute measures. Relative measures are much easier to compare than absolute numbers. So those are the things I wanted to point out. If you have troubles, please contact me, and I'm going to sign off. Thanks.